often, and you know, it was again just fun to watch and be part of, because the other team was just, you know, they'd go from Tudor to Joaquin, and I mean they were messed up, and you know when they got done with us, those couple guys, I mean that team was really messed up probably for a couple weeks after that.
Yeah, he went 21-12 with 265 innings pitched. All right, a couple of quick current baseball thoughts. Matt Holliday, the deal is out there, it appears. Would you go over 5 years for a guy who is going to turn 30 this January at $17 million per?
Well, I tell you what, I think the Cardinals are going to sign him. I wouldn't have said that a month ago, but I didn't. I thought Boston would step up, especially if they lost Bay. And that could happen yet. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but there's something going on. It's pretty close to being done. Now, I think what's going to happen, they'll probably give him 5 years with an option on 2 or something like that. That's the way Boris operates. He's going to ask for a few extra things at the end yet. I know that because I've negotiated contracts with him. But, you know, if Matt's 31, and he's a good player, and he's an anticipating hitter. We used to call them guess hitters. We say they anticipate. He's a very good low ball hitter. When he can look for a breaking ball, he can smoke it. I think the Dodgers kind of showed in the playoffs how you want to pitch him. Hard stuff up, just keep pounding him with hard stuff. And he had a lot of trouble catching up with it. Now, whether he's going to be pitched like that all year, a little bit different than they pitched to him before, I don't know. And whether he's going to be able to get that bat speed where he wants it to catch up with that ball, I don't know that. But I'd like to have him on my team, and I hope the Cardinals get him, and I'm sure Albert hopes he's there. But, you know, what's the matter with Ludwig hitting behind him? I mean, Ludwig's a pretty good hitter. I mean, he hits 30 home runs and drives in 100 runs. He hadn't missed 2-3 weeks last year, or maybe even went to rehab for a week before he got back in the lineup. He'd had a better year. But anyway, he's going to solidify that lineup, and then all they got to worry about who's going to play first base, and they can put Humpty Dumpty there and win their division and probably get to the World Series if they don't have injuries.
How do you feel, Ozzie and Jack, if you're Albert Pujols and the best player on the team and the best player in the world, if the guy hitting behind you makes more money than you? Albert, by the way, is scheduled to make 16 and 16 the next couple of years, and Holliday will be over there. How would you feel?
That's temporary.
Yeah.
It's temporary, and it's just the way the ball bounces. You know, at this particular time, he probably would be the highest paid, but we know, and I think everybody that's a Cardinal fan knows, that Albert eventually will be and will probably end up being the highest paid Cardinal in the history of the game.
Jack, how would you feel?
Well, I don't think it's going to bother Albert at all, because Albert is in a different ballpark himself. You know, he's an elite player, an A player in baseball, maybe the A best plus player out there right now. So Albert's going to get taken care of and get his. He's consistent. He does what he's going to do. I don't think he's bothered by anybody getting more, a pitcher or anybody else getting more, or that he's the highest paid or not the highest, because he's going to get his. But I think it's a good point what Whitey said about Ludwig. I mean, and also a point he made also about when I came over here, and whether you have Tito Landrum or Van Slyke hitting behind me, any of those guys, you know, basically when you get up there, you stand on your own 2 feet. You know, you don't worry about the guys behind you. You take care of your own business there. And if those guys are on base out there in front of you, how are you going to get them in? What's the pitcher trying to do? And take what he's given you. And, you know, Albert, if he hadn't had anybody behind him, he still drives in his 100, scores 100, gets 100 walks.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how he can only strike out 40 or 50 times a year with 600 at bats. I mean, that's a stat. I don't know how a slugger can actually do that. But, you know, that's a guy that you have to look at in that Ted Williams category that can be a triple crown type hitter, you know, or maybe even possibly a 400 hitter, but you know, he'll never get pitches. He'll never get pitched to be able to accomplish that. I don't think whoever you put behind him, unless you put Babe Ruth back there.
Quick thought on McGuire. What was your reaction when you hear the news he's going to be the hitting coach?
Wow, that's you know, for me, I wasn't real happy about it for the point that he hasn't been here in St. Louis and done anything, and just got picked and said, here, it's yours, you know, and Hal McRae got let go, who's done a good job here. And, you know, Albert's, you know, done very well here under Hal McRae, and they won a world championship. So, you know, I was a little disappointed because we haven't heard from him, and he's been kind of hiding out. And then they started talking about they're going to hide him out even more, you know, and I just don't get that. I do, even to this day, I don't understand when you're You're talking about a guy who's going to come here to town and we're going to hide him out. He doesn't have to come on the field for batting practice. That's his job. That's your job, is to be there with those hitters during batting practice. I was a hitting coach for the Dodgers. That's your job, to be down there in the cage with them, out on the field with them, in the dugout with them, up looking at video, back doing some soft toss, getting pinch hitters, getting everybody ready. So I find it a little fishy, to be honest with you. And but he's got skills, obviously, and we'll have to see what he can bring to the party. But it's going to be, when he gets to New York and some of those other places, how's he going to deal with all that, or how's Tony going to deal with that? I mean, I'm sure Tony's decided, he's going to figure it out because he wants to help Mark, but it seems a little awkward and a little uncomfortable situation, to be honest with you, because we still sitting here today and we haven't heard from Mark, and we were going to hear from him supposedly after the winter meetings, and we haven't heard from him, and then we were going to hear from him before Christmas, and we still haven't heard from him. So what's going on with him? None of us know.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be a little bit more responsive to the Cardinal fans and who've been waiting and haven't seen him or heard from him for nine plus years?
Nobody handled the media better than Ozzie Smith and Whitey Herzog. Well, how do you think he should handle this thing?
Personally, I've always felt that with him being the lightning rod that he has been with baseball, this era of baseball, if you're going to bring him back, there would be no way that you would bring him back and have a press conference without him standing there. It's much like Jack said, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. I don't know what kind of hitting instructor Mark's going to be. I don't think anybody does. I think when you look at him, you look at him more as a home run hitter, but that's not to say he won't be a good hitting instructor. But I think with the organization, the history of the organization, knowing what I know and having been a part of it, it was a little surprising to me that they would bring someone back who's been a lightning rod for baseball. You would bring him back under these circumstances without having to face the music. I think the sooner you face the music, the easier it's going to be. And I think that one thing that we've learned from this era of baseball is that if you come out, and I think people are apathetic as to whether or not guys use steroids or whatever. I think what they're interested in is whether or not a guy's going to be a stand-up guy, if in fact he is busted. And I just would have never hired this guy as a hitting instructor without having him there at the press conference. And I think that was the one thing that they did wrong.
Whitey?
Well, I agree with what Jack and Ozzie said. Both of them very good. As a manager, he's got to open up, and he's got to be honest, and it's not going to be so bad here in St. Louis because the press will be forgiving, the media will be forgiving, and they'll let it slide over. But now, what's going to happen when he goes to Philly? What's going to happen when he goes to New York and he gets questioned? And if he doesn't open up and talk to these people and lay it out there on the line, he's got to be a stand-up guy, and he's got to face this. And that's the only way he's going to get over it. And, every time it's been brought up about the steroid issue, which Ozzie said very good, is this. That Tony has gotten mad about it. Tony, he's upset because his work habits and so forth. And it's going to be tough for Tony. Tony's going to have to handle this, too. I don't know how this is going to come out. I don't know what kind of hitting coach. He should be a fine hitting coach with some people. But every hitting coach may have 5 guys he gets through to, and maybe 2 he just can't reach, and so forth like that. That's the way it is. Jack will tell you he was there. Hal McRae did a hell of a job 2 years ago. They had the best on-base percentage in the league. This year they didn't, and all of a sudden that's the excuse he doesn't have a job, and that's not true. The bad thing about all this is exactly what Ozzie says. When they were going to announce Mark McGuire as hitting coach, Mark McGuire should have been here for a press conference when they announced it. And that would have been big, and I think that was the proper way to do it. And until that happens, I have no idea. I hope it works out okay, but I don't know.
All right, we'll take our final break. We'll hold them for the 1985 team. Whitey was in the restaurant business. Ozzie has had a great run, and you are back very shortly, correct, downtown?
Yeah, in April, hopefully right around the opening of the baseball season on Washington.
Wow. And what you had an unbelievable run. What would make you want to come back?
Well, you know what? It's really kind of a continuation. We had such a loyal following, and that last week was very emotional week for everybody. It was one of our best weeks of the year, and people talked about the importance of keeping an establishment like that. Unfortunately for us, we hit bad times with the economy and